To start the prototype, I went to Dollar Tree and just picked up a bunch of miscellaneous items. I like to go there because I can just buy a bunch of stuff and see what works. So I actually tried to use a baseball bat for the hopper of the food helmet mechanism. And then we kind of go here and we start to try to figure out kind of how I want to go about it with all the different materials. So here, what I end up doing is I end up trying to cut the bottom of this piece so that I can kind of get a better shape to cut around for the bottom of the hopper of the food. And as you'll see, I actually have almonds here, but as I get later on in the video, I do decide to not use almonds because if they're a regular shape, it causes problems with the hopper and feeding. Also, you'll see later in the video, I'll mention it, that I actually end up not using the hopper. And that was due to using a funnel shape, it makes it hard for the candies to fit through it. But yeah, I'm just kind of, so here I start cutting the mats. So those are just plastic placemats that I picked up figuring I can glue and shape into whatever kind of shape I need. So that I end up gluing that to the bottom of the hopper there. And just kind of holding it in place until it cools. Nope, and I just add more glue. I feel like I should have some, lo-fi hip-hop beats in the background, but we'll see about that in future videos. But yeah, I'm just using, so I ended up looking at those, that was like little test tubes. That's one of the things I love about like Dollar Tree or something, is I just shotgun. I think I bought like 15 items. It was like $15. And I can kind of just pick up something and say, hey, this might work, and just try it out and be able to kind of use a trial and error process. But yeah, I'm just trying to form the bottom of the hopper around this test tube, which will later become part of the mechanism. Yeah, so that's just, it's twistable. So you'll see my mechanism a little later and kind of how that works. But I cut out the bottom so that it'll have access to that test tube. Because I'm going to put a hole in the side of the test tube later, which will make it rotate and allow candy to go out as the holes align. And I'm just clearing out the hole there. The actual build ended up taking about an hour and 15 minutes start to finish, and I made about a 10-minute video here to kind of show what I'm doing and talk about my process. So here I'm actually testing the almonds to see if they're going to jam up in the hopper, which they ended up doing, and then I'd have to shake it. And in the final design of the food helmet, it will feed into a tray that I'll have to tilt my head back to feed myself, because I figured that was really a non-essential part for the feeding. So I do expect some agitation with the hopper, but with the almonds, they just stick together very well as the funnel tapers down. So I decided to just go against it. And here I'm just, kind of securing in that test tube and just making it so that it will fit properly. And as you can see, I'm just making sure it spins as I go through. And there's the glue so that we'll get a nice fit. So here I'm marking the test tube to kind of see how big of a hole I should have. And in the background, you'll see candles. So I picked up candles at the dollar store thinking that the wax might actually help make the mechanism run smoother. And here you can see the holes as they line up. But the candles actually ended up hurting the, making it not work. So I ended up just cleaning all the candle wax off and just trying to, and then just not using it. That's another good thing about the prototype. That was part of the trial and error process. So here I am trying to feed the almonds in, and it's absolutely not working. Now, the hole was too small, so as you see, I made it a little bigger. And then I tried a few almonds. And as I shook it, it would let a few through, but it wasn't a very consistently working design. So it was kind of back to the drawing board, and I was trying to figure out how to make this work properly. And as you can see, a few came out, but it really wasn't very effective. So here I actually bought this candy tube thinking I would just use the tube, but then I had the idea to just try the M&Ms instead of the almonds. You know, I try to eat healthier now, try to eat less sugar, but the M&Ms just absolutely worked better. So I figured for design point of view, I'll just use the M&Ms. So then I just glued the cap on so that I can use the cap as part of the build process, and just so it wouldn't move as it was being twisted as part of the mechanism. So this is a piece of pen actually. I took a pen and just took it apart, and I put a bunch of the placemat on it, as you can see there, and made triangles, and then just kind of glued it on the side because I wanted a lever actuation for my final design. And then just making sure that was secure on there, because that is going to incur a torsion. And I'm just testing it, making sure everything's lining up. And then I'm going to put the hole in the bottom so that the M&Ms will actually come out of the bottom of the tube and properly feed into a dish that will be in front of my mouth. So then this is just kind of, actually this is the next day of building. So off camera I realized how poorly the hopper worked, but I did just throw rubber bands on just to make sure that the mechanism would spring back, so that I would just open it and then it would just spring back into position, so that it's a repeatable action. Just some basic spring force. So then here I am just testing this. It was really hard to get this angle with out my hands getting in the way. So then I just placed that straight tube in there, and then without the funnel, so that they would just sit next to each other and then they would get stuck. So with the straight tube, I realized it was a much smoother action, and as you see, many more M&Ms came out per actuation, but still not too much because they would still kind of get stuck. So then I just kind of cut everything off and left the bottom because that was already pretty nice, and then I hot glued the tube in. I had my reservations that the hot glue would actually end up melting the tube a bit, which it did, but it happens. So it doesn't really impact the functionality of it, and I know I'll just get a better straight tube for a final design. And here I am trying to scoop all the M&Ms back in out of those dishes. I was actually trying to use that candle to press up against the edge to keep everything straight. But then as you'll see here, that's also a lid, so as I'm tilting my head back, the M&Ms won't come out the top. And there you go. I mean, it works kind of well as I would expect a food helmet design to work. But yeah, that's pretty much my prototype build. Thanks for tuning in, guys. And I hope to see what cool stuff you guys are building.